Greetings, good people. Welcome to Who Knows It's Just Life, the podcast. I'm your host, Kyle. Thank you for fitting me into your day today, and thank you for kicking off 2022 with me. Happy New Year to you. Here's the first episode of 2022, and this episode I'm really just kind of give a couple of quick updates from the holiday season, and also get into a little bit of what I'm planning for this year for the show, and just touch on a couple of topics. I don't think it's going to be that deep an episode this time around, just to get the year started. So yeah, I guess just to recap the holiday season, I think it was I was very blessed and thankful for the holiday season. A lot of people had COVID this go around. Obviously the Omicron version is not as bad. It doesn't look like it's infiltrating the lungs as much as the other versions did. So, people are pretty much handling it fairly well, whether that's the vaccine's success or if it's just just how the strain works. I'm not sure. I don't know if anybody really knows, but thankfully, everybody that I know that had COVID over the break, did well. They were a little sick for maybe a few days. Some people not at all, and but everybody made it through, and everybody's doing well. So that's good, and that's a blessing. And I'm fortunate in my particular family that we were able to celebrate Christmas together for the most part. I don't have a huge family. We just, a group of under 10. So that was thankful. I was thankful for that. Some folks in my family did come down with COVID, like in the immediate aftermath of Christmas. So New Year's was pretty chill, and the after like Kwanzaa was pretty chill, but just because it wasn't able to be what I normally would want to do. But it's all good. It was still a good holiday season overall. Brought in a new year well as well. So they're very, very thankful for that. And one thing that I also want to call out is that my kid, who's 8, I've been working him on terms of like thinking about Christmas in terms of giving. Obviously, every kid wants to get gifts and write lists and all that kind of stuff. So obviously, he was excited to get gifts too. But for the last few years, I've been like, okay, well, before you tell me a whole list of things you want to get for Christmas, tell me what you want to get other people for Christmas. And so, that's not, at that point he was 6, 7, whatever. And he wasn't really like, it was tough to do that. And that's obviously understandable. I wasn't tripping. But I was pleasantly surprised this year in particular because he's 8 now, and we sat down and he wrote out the names of people he wanted to get gifts for. And, this time he was able to really think of them. A lot of times he would think of gifts that he would like and give it to somebody else. And, and that obviously that's okay for a kid. Right. But this year, though, he really did think about what the other person liked and thought of really thoughtful gifts for them. I was really happy with it. And so I went ahead and got the gifts. He helped me wrap them. And on Christmas Day, we start sorting out gifts and stuff, and there's a pile of gifts in the middle of the floor for him, from my mom and a bunch of other family and whatever. But he made sure to give the gifts that he got for everybody else first. So he was so excited because he spent so much time thinking about gifts for everybody. He made sure he wanted to see everybody's reaction when they opened the gifts that he got them. And he wanted to just see that they enjoyed the gifts and liked it and whatever. So, and then there was a moment even before so mind you, this is like 20, 30 minutes into opening gifts and whatever. And he just sat back and he said, this is just my favorite day because everybody is so happy. And my mom caught it, and I think I heard like the tail end of it, but it was just a real nice moment for him even at just 8 years old. I was just very happy for him to be able to experience the joy of giving and making other folks feel appreciated and feel loved in that way. And then of course he dug into his presents and he enjoyed the things that he received too. But I think that moment was really beautiful for me to see, and I felt very happy and proud of him for really seeing that value in giving, because that's a big part of what it's all about, of course. So I was very thankful for that. So coming into the new year, I'm not, as I said last year around New Year's, I'm not big on New Year's resolutions. So I guess my thing last year was stay the course, change the pace. And so I guess that's kind of the same thing this year. Although with my boy, I think last year I talked about focusing on the body and just like listening to the body and like doing self-care and understanding diet and exercise, things like that. And so we did a little bit of that last year, and that was good. And this year, so I want to circle, like every 3 years, I want to circle between mind, body, and soul. And so this year we're going to do mind. And because I noticed a lot of times he would have a physical reaction to things, but he would say it was his mind. And he would say, I'm not upset, but my mind is like telling my body to do certain things or whatever, and get upset or whatever. And so he was kind of like separating the mind and body in that way. And I thought that was a really interesting way of processing, like, if feelings and emotions and stuff like that and reactions to things. So this year we're focusing on the mind. And obviously I want to tap into mindfulness and really, get him to try to understand, observing and witnessing what your mind is going through, what your body's going through, and all that type of stuff. And really, obviously, hopefully bridge that gap that they're all connected, of course, right? So I'm kind of curious how that'll manifest, if it'll manifest this year, but that's something I want to do with him. I think that'll be a fun challenge to do. I don't have any travel plans for him this year. Last year was a heavy travel year, and I don't think I would have known that a year ago today. So at this point, I don't really have a whole lot of travel plans, but yeah, that'll probably come to fruition unbeknownst to me. One thing, we'll probably still go to Rhode Island for the beach and probably hit up my brother's farm down in Georgia. So that would be pretty dope. Hopefully we can make that happen as well. But yeah, so also I want to touch on a few plans for the show. I did post a YouTube video. Yes, a YouTube video. My dad, over a year ago was saying, oh, you got to get on YouTube. You got to get on YouTube. And it's definitely a more interactive way of finding listeners, finding people. It obviously recommends stuff based on whatever you're watching right at the moment. And so it's a great way for people to stumble upon your content without searching for you. Obviously, audio podcast platforms, you really need to know what you're looking for to find it. It's not as easy to just be found. So he's very right about that. I just was apprehensive around getting on YouTube. This year is going to be the year where I get on YouTube. So I did a video of me, actually my face on YouTube for the first time ever in my life. So here we are. And then I'm starting to convert all of my prior episodes thus far into YouTube videos. Obviously, there's not going to be much of a video component to them, but I still just wanted to get them on the platform just so that they're there. My goal is to eventually implement visual components to this thing. And like I said, I'm apprehensive about it, but I promise I'm going to get there this year in 2022. So I guess if there's a New Year's resolution or a goal for the year for the podcast, that's a goal. So hold me to it. I'm going to get there. I promise. I hope. But yeah. Yeah, so I definitely so one thing that's also come up for me a lot is masculinity and what healthy masculinity looks like. Towards the end of the last episode last year, I did, Patriarchy Strikes Back. And I really want to dig into what healthy masculinity looks like. So anyway, I mentioned that I read Bell Hooks' The Will to Change last year with the Let's Talk Bro book club. This year I got We Real Cool by Bell Hooks as well, which is also about black masculinity. And so I want to read that one and see, what that one's talking about and kind of continue to explore that topic. So that's something from a context standpoint. That'll probably be a theme for the year. Maybe, I don't know. I plan to. I'm sure it'll come up a bunch of times. I feel like. In terms of guests, I haven't really thought too much about this, but I know I want to get some family and friends on there. I've already talked to my sister and my cousin about being on the show, so hopefully those will come to fruition. And I've got a couple friends in mind, a couple of folks I work with outside of here that I think would be dope to have on the show too. So stay tuned for that. I'm also going to be giving periodic updates on Jazz Lewis's run for Congress. He's running for my district in Congress. He had his launch event last month and I was out of town, so I missed that. But I definitely want to stay tapped into what he's doing and just, follow that campaign. This is the first time somebody I know as closely as I know Jazz is running for an office at the federal level. So I'm really excited about that. Really proud of him thus far. He's already getting a lot of traction with that. So I really appreciate, him doing what he's doing. And that'll be fun to watch too. So yeah, just to get into some topics quickly for this show. The first book I read this year, I already read one book. My goal is to read 30 this year. I didn't reach 40 last year. So I'm without driving and commuting as much as I used to, reading 40 books did not happen in 2021. So I'm gonna try to hit 30 this year. My first book I both listened to and visually read, The Gilded Ones by Namina Forna, and it's a pretty good book. It was a book that I saw at a bookstore, and the cover just grabbed my attention. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna read that. And it's about this other world where, it's a extremely repressive world for women, and there's this ceremony where they cut girls at the age of 16 to see how they bleed. If they bleed red, they're pure. If they bleed gold, they're considered demons and they're killed. And so that's kind of the premise of the story. And the main character, bleeds gold, and there's this. The story is about her eventually becoming a warrior, and I'm not gonna say too much about what it's about, but that's the premise, and it's a super good book. I think it's technically written for like young adults or whatever, so it's a smooth read. It's really entertaining. It's enjoyable. It's well written too. So I'm not familiar with the author. I should have researched her a little bit more before getting on the show about this book. I'm not sure if this is her first or what. No idea about the author, but the cover just grabbed my attention. The brief synopsis, I was like, yeah, let's do this one. So I'm glad I read that one. Got a number of other books teed up for this year, so I'm excited to get into those too. So another thing that crossed my mind, on Thursday this week, it was the anniversary of the January 6th insurrection on the Capitol. And I distinctly remember where I was when it took place. I was actually on a training conference call, and one of the gentlemen I was on the call with was in DC, and I mean, I was close by too. So we were both like, what's happening? And so it was weird trying to focus on a work thing and have that going on. And obviously I got on a mic and recorded an episode that night. So it's just surreal to kind of just look back and see, I don't know, just a year later, it's really just crazy that even happened. Yeah, I still don't even believe it, but yeah. Another thing that comes to mind is the Matrix fourth movie is out now, and it's only out on HBO for another couple of weeks, 2 or 3 weeks or something like that. And I was just gonna watch it because folks told me that you don't really need to rewatch the first 3 to get the fourth one. And I was like, yeah, that sounds like a plan. But then one of my homegirls, one of my sisters was like, yo, you got to rewatch the first 3. And I don't think she's even seen the fourth one yet, but she was like, come on, like, and I'm a nerd like she is. So like we were both like, okay, yeah, like, all right. Who am I kidding? Like, I love the first one, like the second one. I don't even remember how I felt about the third one. I felt like my like of them decreased with each one of the trilogies, and I feel like that's always the case. But anyway, I'm gonna rewatch all of the first 3. I already watched the first one. Probably watch the second one and third one in the coming week or 2, and then catch that fourth one. So I might have some thoughts about that, but I'll save that for another show. Another thing that came to mind as well is that it's also been a year since I've been on Instagram. And that technically happened in November, right around when I started the show. I got on Instagram for the first time in my life. Yes, for the first time in my life. And I don't know, it's pretty interesting. I will say Instagram is a cool platform. I didn't get sucked into it the way others do, and honestly, that was a big fear of mine. It's definitely something I go to when I'm bored. Sometimes I go there directly to see if folks are posting anything about a certain topic. I realize Twitter is more of like the real live like thing that people are tweeting when things are happening in real time. I'm still not really into Twitter, but yeah, that's another story. So, but Instagram's been fun. I have to say Instagram's marketing is effective. I've definitely been intrigued by the links that are paid links to try to get you to buy stuff. I've succumbed to it a couple of times. But I also just their algorithms work. Like they just know they successfully pinpoint you and how you are, or at least how you present yourself on the gram, and the marketing is effective. And I'm trying not to succumb to it too much because that still kind of annoys me and bothers me. But hey, if there's a black-owned product that's doing something that I need, like, all right, like we'll talk. But yeah, so I don't know, it's interesting because I do get a lot of information from it now. It's crazy how I felt like I didn't get information. I relied on people to tell me information. I really don't watch the news habitually or anything like that. I'll occasionally go on I'll use like Al Jazeera, BBC, and like some other like news sources. I'll listen to Democracy Now! Every once in a while, whatever. There's various sources of news that I partake in, but nothing daily for sure. So Instagram's been a good source of that, and I know it's sad. I mean, a lot of people get their news and information from social media, and that's just true, So it's not good, bad, or indifferent. That's just truth, and I'm just I'm just being honest that that's legit how a lot of information comes my way, including stuff that I would eventually talk about on the show. Like I remember seeing the footage from the Texas Border Patrol people, abusing Haitian refugees, back in September. So I mean, I saw that on the gram the first time. So it's an effective tool, and I knocked it and I hated it. I shouldn't say I hated it. I resisted it for a long time. I guess if I'm being honest, I did hate it. I was anti-Instagram, anti-social media, but I was also out of a place of ignorance, and I have to be honest with that. Like I was against it because of what I knew it could be, and I knew it how it's designed. It's designed for likes and all that kind of stuff, a false sense of self or whatever. Which reminds me, I did read and watch Ready Player One. The book was amazing. The movie was good too, but I love the book a lot better. But I won't get into all that. But that was a really cool series to take a look at, because with the whole metaverse thing happening and all that nonsense, it's interesting to see that novel description of where we could be, and it just seems all the more real. It seems like we're already on that trajectory right now. So that's kind of a trip too. But yeah, so anyway, I don't know. Instagram's cool. Sometimes I also felt myself bored by it, but I also realized that I only follow like 350 accounts, I guess. So, and I see like a lot of other people follow at least 1,000 accounts. So maybe I need to add more stuff to look at to be in my feed. I guess that'll be a little bit more entertaining. But yeah, I guess overall I'm happy with it. I'm also happy with my own behavior because I haven't gotten too engrossed in it. I still only spend like 20, 30 minutes on it a day, if that. So it's not like I'm spending hours and hours and hours a day on it, which can be the case, So, it's all good. Another thing I want to talk about is music. So I used to do a lot of music production. And as I mentioned, maybe probably in the beginning, I moved from music production to podcasting. I really wanted to get into that. And so Racisms was the start of that. And I produced original music for the Racisms podcast and did make a mixtape off of that, which was a super good challenge. I appreciate Jaslyn for challenging me in that way, because then I actually did produce music the way I used to. But yeah, it's been kind of slow from a music standpoint. But one of my brothers, who's a friend of a friend, but we both live not too far away from each other. His son is around the same age as my son, a little younger, but whatever. He's a baseball nerd too. So anyway, we talk about a number of different things, check in here and there. But I didn't even know he plays the saxophone. So, and I actually my dad and I saw him perform a couple months ago, and I was like, hey, do you write your own songs? Because I make music, and so we've actually been talking about at least making one song. But my goal is hopefully we can make a few. He was talking about, let's make an album together. That would be fire. So I'm not sure how much we'll be able to pull off this year, but because I know everybody's busy and working, family and all that. So it'll be interesting to see what we come up with. But I'm going to challenge myself musically to work with him and see what we can come up with. He knows a few other musicians that'll enhance some of the concepts, like from a production standpoint, that I have. So, I mean, by all means, my bass lines can be a little good, but like, shoot, a live bass will kill that any day. So, I welcome. All that energy will be dope to see. So, excited about that too. Finally, I wanted to acknowledge the late greats that passed away, like I think within 10 days of each other. And each one of them touched my life in a way. And that's true for a lot of people, for sure. Betty White passed away, I believe, New Year's Eve, 2021. And then Sidney Poitier passed just not long after that. And Bob Saget passed away too. He's the youngest of the bunch. And that was a shock to me. I think he was 65, I think. And Betty White passed away just before her 100th birthday, which would have been amazing. And so it was really just sad to roll into 2022 and just have those three losses come right away. Now, granted, we just lost Bell Hooks like a month ago, so that's just a lot, And but for three folks in the acting, pop culture, realm, it was just crazy. And Betty White's one of those people who everybody loved her. You know what I'm saying? She was one of those white entertainers who like was unproblematic as far as I know. I don't know if anything she did that was problematic or whatever, and I could be wrong, but that's just, I don't know anybody that like didn't like Betty White. Everybody loved Betty White, and she was on the Golden Girls, of course, for a long time. She was amazing in there. I remember her being on Saturday Night Live a bunch of times. It was hilarious there too. I mean, everything she's been in that I've seen has just been golden, and golden, of course. And yeah, so losing her just before her 100th birthday is definitely sad. I would have loved to see her reach the century mark, but obviously a long life, very fulfilled life, and we are very blessed to have had Betty White on this earth and to have been able to witness her work. Same is true for Sidney Poitier. Sidney Poitier was a monumental figure in Black cinema, and I read his autobiography some years ago. Was it last year? Yeah, last year or 2 years ago. I read Harry Belafonte's My Song. He talks about Sidney Poitier quite a lot, and it wasn't always positive. I mean, Harry and Sidney were great friends, but then they had issues here and there, which that happens with friends and whatnot. But just hearing about Sidney's life as much as Harry talked about it was just a reminder how instrumental both of them were, and to lose Sidney Poitier is also obviously tragic. He's from the Bahamas, which I don't know. I mean, I don't know if everybody knew that. Maybe everybody did, but Sidney Poitier in his career was trailblazing, and just he obviously has such a huge impact on the film industry, and played so many important roles in cinema. And so, rest in peace to Sidney Poitier. Again, we love and appreciate you too. You did so much for Black cinema and the civil rights movement too. I mean, he was involved, off and on with that as well. So, yeah, another great one lost there. And then Bob Saget. I was a fan of Full House, and America's Funniest Home Videos. I mean, he was big in the '90s, and definitely loved some of that stuff back then. I have no idea how Full House would land now. I'm not sure if that show aged well or not, but it's definitely a show I watched in the '90s. And Bob Saget was just the guy that just made you laugh. He was just a solid dude. Now, it's crazy because I do follow Talib Kweli, one of my favorite MCs, on Instagram, and he posted some stuff. He had interviews with Bob Saget. They're essentially friends. I had no idea about this. But he and Bob Saget were friends, and he had just posted some content with him and Bob Saget talking about a couple of different, I think it was, they talked about cancel culture, I think, a few months back when Chappelle was going through everything. And I don't know, it was just cool to hear Bob Saget like these many years later talking about these issues and whatnot. And I don't know, it just makes me like him even more that the guy like Talib Kweli bangs with him. Like, it's like, oh shoot, like this dude is what's up. Like, okay. So yeah, to lose him too, just tragic and definitely sad to hear that as well. So yeah, rest in peace to Betty White, Sidney Poitier, and Bob Saget. All right, y'all. That is the show. Quick first episode of 2022. Little bit of a preview for what the year hopefully maybe will unfold. And yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it all shakes out. Before I close, I will say a couple of songs that I'm rocking to right now. First one is the Black Pumas with Colors. Now, Black Pumas, I hadn't heard of them, but I was actually at work and I was playing a radio station based on Michael Kiwanuka. And you know how when you're playing like a Pandora station or a radio station and something hits your ear and you're like, yo, what is that? Like, you listen to everything sounds cool, but like there's always that one song that just like stands out to you. And I ran over to the computer and I was like, what is that? And I was like, oh, Black Pumas. Oh, yeah, cool. I'll remember that. And then I went back to work and I was doing my thing. Then like maybe it was even the next day, like another song comes out. Ooh, who is that? Black Pumas, same album. I'm like, who are these folks? Like, this is some good stuff. And I think the album even came out a couple years ago. So I'm just getting to it now. But man, that Black Puma stuff is fire. And the song that is in my head constantly right now is Colors. That joint is just smooth. The background singing, the guitar riffs in there, like that song is just a banger. And I'm not even sure. I just looked up the lyrics before the show, and honestly, I'm not sure exactly what it's about. Like, I didn't look it up on Genius. I'm not sure if it's annotated or whatever, but the song is just vibes, and their music in general is just vibes. Like, sometimes he sounds like CeeLo Green on a couple songs, but like overall, it's a unique sound, and just the instrumentation is beautiful. Like the harmonies, good stuff. Second song I'm rocking to is really a statement song. Because I happened to see Amanda Seales post about some of the hate that Mickey Guyton is getting. And if you don't know Mickey Guyton, she's a black country singer, and obviously, as you would expect, some people in the country music world are not fond of a black woman singing country, and her music is very black. Like, it talks about being black, and sort of an India Ari of country music from a content standpoint, like, talking about hair and skin tone and some of the struggles that she's been through as a black woman, but she sings country music. And so that's dope, and this is, it always bothered me when white people said, I don't like hip hop or I don't like rap, but I like Eminem. And I think it was, I can't think of the guy's name. It was a DJ, actually a white DJ, who made this point. I can't think of his name, but he said, when white people say they don't like rap, but they like Eminem, it's like, it's racism, or it's some prejudice type stuff. Because if you don't know rap, then you don't know how good Eminem is. And if you just like Eminem for his content, most of which is dark, satirical, and violent, and all of this stuff, it's like, why is this your favorite content in rap music? Like, it's obviously because he's white, because you clearly, you don't have any context for why he's such an amazing MC. And so that has always bugged me. And that DJ, Rosenberg, Peter Rosenberg. Yes, I believe that was him. He articulated how I felt about when white people say I like Eminem perfectly. I don't even think I did it justice just now. But so now here's my chance. I don't like country music. I don't really listen to country music, but I like Mickey Guyton. Okay? I like her. So that's just what I'm standing on. And I've listened to, I'm gonna start a 2022 playlist. I had a 2020 playlist. I don't think I did one for 2021, but I got Black Pumas and Mickey Guyton on there starting out for the year. I'm gonna see what else I tack on for the year's playlist, but I'm listening to them two right now starting off the year. So yeah, I don't like country music, but Mickey Guyton, I'm rocking with her for sure. All right, y'all, that's the show. I appreciate you listening to this episode of Who Knows It's Just Life, the podcast. This is your host, Kyle. As always, you can reach out to me about this episode or any other episodes on Instagram at RealDadult. That's RealDadult. I hope to catch you here next time. Until then, be safe, be well, peace.